We're live. Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Happy Sunday morning.
Happy welcome to the ESP Consciousness Future.
I like it.
My beautiful friend, Dain Heer, who I'm sure all of you guys know and love, invited me to talk about ESB in a session that I've had. And this conversation, a lot of evolutions. And this morning, Dain's like, let's do it together. And I thought, let's do it together.
Yes.
So this is Dain.
Hi. And since you're on my page, hopefully you know that by now. And if you don't, thank you for visiting my page and saying hi. And the thing about this is trying to describe the indescribable.
Yeah.
And Shannon has a way of doing that. It's just...
Yeah, and you'll have to excuse me leaning in because we're sitting in these really chunky
Hello.
club chairs, so we're actually like quite far apart. So
just do it like this. Okay, you talk and I'll just adore you from here.
So I have a very unique perspective because I have been receiving ESB from you before he was even calling it ESB. So I've known you for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about that. You're actually like my longest lasting relationship besides family members.
Wow.
So I guess you're a family member.
Wow. Okay, in the good way.
In a good way. Sorry, guys, you're going to get a lot of sun on my face.
A lot of sun.
Here comes the sun.
Lighting, sound, forget about it. And hi, everybody. Nice to see you all. Thanks for showing up on such short notice.
Cool.
Really cool.
So I've known Dain for 20 plus years, and I met you when you were still doing network chiropractics.
Yeah.
Except it wasn't network chiropractics. It was this energetic engagement with the molecules of what creates the reality we perceive, the reality we don't perceive, etc. So I've had a lot of sessions from you, experienced the ESB energy over many, many years through lots of development. And I had my last session with you at the Maestro class that you facilitated last November. So have any of you guys ever felt like there's like something that's so wrong with you that there's no way you're ever going to be able to deal with it, ever going to be able to address it? It's like you don't even know how to deal with it or address it, but you just know that it's so wrong, so wrong, so wrong, and so wrong.
That.
So welcome
well
to this.
Put.
So welcome to this. So we're at this Maestro class, and this is not a conversation about Maestro class. This is ESB / the magic that Dain bees.
Thank you.
So I raised my hand because my back has been like breaking for 3 days during this class. And I'm like, I've done enough access. I know that when I'm in a lot of intensity, when there's a lot up, I'm not just wrong. There might be also something else up.
There might be.
So,
just because there has been every single time that there was an intensity that somebody would call pain.
Right.
Every single time there's always something else up because we don't do pain unless there's something up.
So it took me 3 days to ask. I kept on being like, maybe it'll just work itself out. Maybe it'll work itself out. Finally, I raised my hand. I'm like, Dain, my back hurts. I can barely stand up. I'm in a lot of pain. I don't know how to deal with this. All the while thinking I'm wrong, right? Like I'm totally wrong about this.
None of you have ever, no.
You know?
No, none of you have ever done that, right? Just all the time. Yeah.
You have reached your... I don't even know what that is. It's not even your hand. It's more than a hand. And made it okay for me to be having a bad experience, to not feel good about myself. I just could come as I was, and then the magic begins. And this man can deal with stuff that, like, do any of you guys feel like there's stuff you don't even know how to deal with in your own world? Thank you for making my ability to work with all energies possible.
Thank you. Really. And I love it's looking at this through your eyes. So we've had conversations about all kinds of things, right? But never this specifically. And it's wonderful to perceive through your eyes.
Well, God, I don't even know how to say it other than you make everything that I think is the worst about me the greatest strength of me. Like you make it like the greatest greatness about me. Now, how does he fucking do that? You have to come to class to find out, because like, wow, is it such a like yes, there's a lot of kindness. There's a massive amount of presence. And then there's a whole lot of ESB, ESC, SOP, magic, infinite possibility going on that we don't always have words for, which is why doing an invitation like this or talking about this is like, I hope you guys can start to perceive some of this.
Yeah. It's like talking about the wind.
It's like talking about the wind.
How do you?
Absolutely. It was strong today.
Exactly.
It was calm today.
Yeah. And how else do you describe it? It is something, you know, and I feel so blessed because a lot of you may know, but a lot of you may not. But Shannon ran my bars. She literally saved my life 21 years ago when she ran my bars. And I was struggling. I was depressed. I was a network chiropractor who felt like I couldn't do network chiropractic, nor any of the other techniques I tried. My relationship, all these things were falling apart. I was depressed for the better part of 3 years. And
oh, you mean you felt like I did that morning of
Yeah.
Maestro in November?
Exactly. So I understand.
Everything's falling apart.
I gets it. And I was in such a state of the wrongness of me. And I went and, you know, and I had you come to my office and run my bars. And I literally came in depressed.
Can I tell the story?
Yeah.
Let me just, I think Dain has told
Frame
this
it.
story, but I rarely get to tell this story because, to be honest, I haven't really been willing to I haven't in the past had that much of ease in receiving that I saved your life.
Yeah.
And I'm getting it more and more.
Cool. Awesome.
So let me set the scene. I'm 20 years old. I'm a full-on hippie living in Southern California. Gary Douglas is my dad, the founder of Access. I love how we have this space behind us.
I know. Lots of space. It's a spacious conversation.
And I'm like trying to get my Access business going. I love Access. It also saved my life. It literally saved my life. I'm not just saying that. Like, I was suicidal and my dad tricked me into having my bars run and doing some pod pocking. And then I actually noticed I was happy one day and I was like, wait a second.
Where did this come from?
Where did the death spirits go?
Totally. Well, the difference between us is I knew exactly where it came from because
Okay.
I came in one way and I left another and was like, if
right.
it feels this way to be alive, I am in. So, sorry, continue.
And I said to my dad, I was like, what do I do? Right, I'm 20 years old. I have no idea. I'm like an art school dropout. And he says, put a little ad in it's a local free paper in Santa Barbara called The Independent. He said, put a little ad in there. I'm like, what do I say? He says, all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. Call Shannon. Guess who's the one person that called me from that ad that cost me $23 that I ran for 1 week?
And the ad was so tiny.
And it was tiny.
Tiny.
I had 23. I was like, I can't spend more than $30. I didn't have more than $30. Right. You know, I mean, literally the ad was, you know, ring, ring. Hello? Hi. Hi, my name's Dain, and I saw your ad in The Independent. And I'm like, holy shit, what do I do? Someone's calling me. And we just talked. And it worked. And I was like, well, why don't we start? And you came. And we actually did it. And
yeah. And the beauty of talking to you was like, you had a space of allowance, a space of kindness. It was like talking to a
Do you know how weird it is for me to hear that? Because at the time I did not have that perception of myself.
Yeah, I do get that.
So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I love talking about these things after because you know, as you move along, you're like, okay, I'm this person. You just are who you are. Then you look back at where you were and I'm like, fuck. So I got this bar session, didn't want to die anymore. And I remember right after that session, looking out of those windows at that, you know, I was in the Granada building in Santa Barbara, you know,
yes,
where my little tiny office was. It was smaller than the space we're sitting in right now. And I looked up at the clouds.
You're right. It was smaller.
Yeah, it was smaller than this, this little platform. That's a tiny part of my current house.
Yeah, that's right.
And I remember looking up at the clouds in the sky going, has it always been this beautiful here? And I was like, oh my God, I'm ready to live.
So that's what Access creates, but that's a lot what you create. And I've been to so many of your classes. By the way, thank you. Like, I'm glad I got to save your life so that you could save my life 50 trillion times after that.
Pleasure.
But not just save my life, improve my quality of life, my perception of all of the beauty that exists in the world. Because when I'm in the deepest wrongness of me, I can't see the beauty. I can't see the beauty of the trees. I can't see the beauty of me. It's not a very fun life.
Yeah, that.
So, what is it that you're looking at when someone comes to you in the deepest, worst place in their universe?
Um, well, for me, I just want to be. I'm like, hi, and I get it. Like I've lived it. I get it, and it's kind of like there's so many parts of it. You know, we've talked. This is not easy to describe, but it's like
I'll
it's like
describe this as a lot of caring, the caring that the world is deeply missing, a lot of kindness.
and it's like giving their whole being a hug. Like all of those parts of them that they're judging as wrong and bad and separating from, because that's where so much of
Can
that
I
comes
ask you
from.
something?
Yeah.
You know how like people reject being cared for
Yeah.
and reject being seen, and how do you like, because I find that I also want to give people's being, like I also want to make everybody happy and take care of everybody, and I do react to their walls, their barriers, their
Yeah.
resistances. You don't.
Not
You
especially not when I'm doing a
don't.
session.
You don't.
I don't know how to explain it.
Have you always been like that?
Well, yeah, actually, but not. I mean, we all get greater. You know, if we do access for any length of time, we get greater at being what we really are.
Access is like salt. It brings out
Yeah,
what with the essence of what you are.
exactly. And you get greater at what you really are, and what you are not diminishes greatly. So even when I was a little
That's a great way of
kid
putting it.
experiencing a lot of abuse, it's like I was looking at these people abusing me going, why don't you understand it doesn't have to be this way? You know, and it wasn't I hate you people and whatever. I was just like, it doesn't have to be this way. But I didn't know how to change them in that situation. And you know, when I did the very first ESB session, I mean, I didn't call it anything. It was just a miracle. But what happened was it was
It's
when
still just a miracle.
still just a miracle. We just have a name
We
for it
just have
now.
a name for it
That
now.
means very
Basically
little.
nothing.
Yeah. But when I did that first session, it was on Gary right after I'd done the foundation and level 1 at the time, which is foundation.
I did
now.
Dain's first foundation in
Yes,
level
she
1.
did.
I don't know how I did it. We just stumbled through it.
True story.
It was mostly the manual, but I've learned it since.
Good point.
I want to say I was 20
Hello.
facilitating this guy.
And I was like,
You're like, what are we doing? I was like, I don't
I
know.
don't know. But I do remember reading through the manual, right? And of the foundation manual, and everybody else was on page 6, and I was on page 25.
Welcome to Dain.
Still reading, you
Way
know.
off in the distance.
And then you'd be like, Dain, it's your turn to read your page. I'm like, what page again? You'd be like, oh, I'd be like, okay. And I would read, and then I would go on, and I read through that book. There was so much in there that unlocked. And after that, Gary asked for a session in my office. He wanted to get out of pain. And he said to me,
Oh, can I tell this other story?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, wait. I could wait. So I go to my dad. So my dad and Dain have the same birthday, May 22nd. Literally the same birthday.
by the way, International Being You Day.
It's also now
Hello.
International Being You Day.
If you haven't heard.
And you had actually said I'd love to meet your dad. And
Yeah.
but I also knew that I had to hand you off to him because I couldn't really take you very far.
Right.
I was 20.
Apparently, if you haven't gotten anything else from this, Shannon was 20
I was
when we
like
met.
5 years old when we met, and I was like, I think you need my dad from here on because I can't get you up the rest of these stairs. I'm still a baby.
And what was so funny was after our second session, I said, who created this stuff? You went, oh yeah, my dad. I'm like, your fucking what? Your dad, because it had an energy to it that was unlike anything I'd ever experienced.
Well, it's really cool that you could perceive that.
True story. And it was like life. It was like mother's milk. I couldn't wait for us to get together and do bars. And you started doing verbal processing
Yeah.
with me too. And I was just like, oh my God. And so anyway, he comes for a session in my office. Finally, and by the way, I resisted doing foundation for months. And Shannon's like, I have a foundation, and I didn't go to it. And then she had another one coming up, and she came to my office. We were
That's
trading.
right.
And she went, can I ask you a question? Why are you not coming to this foundation?
Right.
And I was like, and I convinced myself that I didn't really need it. The real reason was money. And so we made an
Aw.
arrangement, and because that was a big thing in my world.
I was like, I'm 5 years old. I don't even know how to use money. We don't need money.
Totally. Why is money relevant in anything? And so we made an arrangement. We figured it out. You were very kind to make it work for me. Thank you. Because that was
I
the
think
beginning
yes.
of going.
Yes.
My universe went, and the next day, Gary calls for a session in my office.
Interesting.
Yeah, so he comes for a session, and he's like, and I've got all my stuff going on, and here I'm meeting the Gary, and Access was like this compared to what Access is now, right?
Yeah.
Except, I mean, energetically it was this already. But I meet the Gary, and I'm so insecure because I can't do network very well, and I've got all these other techniques that I do and can do and whatever, and I can't seem to do any of those very well. Like the redheaded fucking stepchild of every technique I've
So
ever
here's
done.
the wrongness thing I started this conversation
Heard about that?
from.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, something we can relate to. And so he says, I need the third level of network. And I'm like, I just started studying that, which was a lie. I didn't know how to do it at all.
You're like,
I didn't know he was psychic, right? I didn't know he knew that I was lying, right? That you can spot a lie like that. I didn't think that existed. And he said, look, ask my body what it wants, follow the energy, you will know what to do. He was the first person in my life that told me I would know what to do. Everybody else said, do this technique and do this for this and do this. And I went, okay. And I was excited and a little terrified all at the same time. But in that moment of him saying you would know what to do and me receiving it and me choosing that, like, I was like, okay, I'm going to go on the journey you're talking about, because it sounded so much more fun, but it had so much more lightness to it. And literally my space, my arms do this when I talk about it, because what happened was it was just like, and there was this energy present in the room that felt like I can't even begin to describe. It was like being in the presence of being able to meld and mold every molecule in the universe. And I was like, I felt like one of those people on a, like a fantasy show where they get their magic powers or something, but it wasn't that significant. It was just like, oh my God, I can do something different than I've ever done before. So I start working on Gary, and there's an energy. And so I've never worked off of somebody's body. I never considered myself an energy worker, quote unquote. And I was just following the energy because it felt like the right thing to do. And I'm like walking further and further away from his body. And the further away I get, the more his body is responding. And I'm like, whoa. And I was standing 15 feet away at one point and moving my hand, and his body is moving with my hand. And I was just like, this is friggin' awesome. And I didn't know what was happening, but it had such a sense of peace. And what would happen is it was like, I don't know, like if you've ever seen movies or where little kids usually, or the magician is like, there's this whole like lit up universe of moving things that meld into each other. And it was like being in the presence of that. It was like Mickey Mouse in, what is it? Fantasia?
Yes.
Where he's like this. It was totally like that, but with molecules and energies that I had never known that I could even access before. So he gets up 45 minutes later, and he looks like he's just taken all the drugs on the planet, and he's like, whoa, he can barely sit up. And I'm like, oh shit. I said, how was that? And he went, whoa. And I was like, oh, he doesn't know what network is supposed to be like, right? That was still my reference point, even after being in the presence of this magic. And I started working on people, and I found that I could change things just by accessing that space.
And what's relevant about this? Let me tell you. Your being is so much bigger than your personality, than your feelings, than your body. This is why when so many of us have stuff going on in our bodies and our lives and our bank accounts and our relationships, and you cannot seem to figure out how that crap to change this stuff, it's because it exists in your bigger universe, in the molecular awareness. This is not airy-fairy, like we are airy-fairy, but this is all also science.
True story.
Science is now able to identify that everything in the universe is made of molecules.
And energy.
And consciousness. And this is the future.
Yeah, truly.
Of health, wealth, awareness.
On so many levels. And what this gives you is, it's like the only time we have pain or suffering or lack of success in any area, or lack of joy or lack of lightness, is when we're functioning from unconsciousness or anti-consciousness. It's like taking this bright shining light and covering it with crap, and concrete.
Exactly.
And what I do with ESB, one of the things is like, start pulling that apart. Or sometimes when somebody's ready, their whole being is encased in concrete, and sometimes they're willing to go, and I'm like,
And the
There you
stuff
go.
that I've had change from sessions that, I mean, when I say ESP, I don't even feel, I'm going to say the sessions that I've had with you, the treatments that I've had with you. Like, I've been so stuck with some stuff, and I mean, like, stuck, like, and I'm pretty good at changing things and being me and getting through things because I'm also an access facilitator, and, and I've been stuck with stuff that I didn't even realize I was stuck with, but it was this constricted, gnawing density off in the periphery of my universe that I pushed out into the periphery of my awareness because I couldn't deal with it. I didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And the sessions that I've had with you have not only easily changed it, but then when I come out the other side, there's so much more ease, so much more awareness, and so much more ability to be me. But I have to warn you guys, you're going to feel different.
True story. You're not looking to feel different. This is definitely not for you. And the thing about that is when you get that, see, with all the things you're talking about, it's like, it's so, what I do is I sort of perceive it energetically, and then
Yes.
instantly that energy of, it's like pulling it apart. It's like inviting it to change, but also letting it know that it can, because everything has consciousness, right? Like a book has consciousness, a business has consciousness, we have consciousness. But so some of these elements of what we've created also have a quote unquote consciousness of their own, but the consciousness is actually unconsciousness and anti-consciousness. That's how it has created itself. And so I invite it to know that it can be something different, but simultaneously invite you to the space of being able to know that you can allow it to be something
and
different.
that you inviting me to that space that allows me to know that I can be different that's the fucking special sauce. That's like
I think you said it brilliantly.
I mean, it's interesting. It's so hard to say it because it is so, when it is so clear, but then to talk about it is almost impossible. But it's like everything I never felt like I can confront, deal with, get to, understand, unlock, be aware of, you make all of that totally possible.
Thank you.
And I make it possible, but you really help me make it a million times easier and a million times possible. Your strength, your magic, your kindness is
Thank you.
Very effective.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You're highly effective in your magic. The magic is strong with this one.
So can we?
But that's the thing for me is it's the energetics of. See, it's one thing to we have this thing have your back. It's one thing to say that. It's another thing to be that for every area where somebody is in judgment and wrongness of themselves.
It took me a long time to let you be there for me like that. It did.
Yeah,
I still sometimes struggle with it. I'm like,
yeah, but in actuality, you start receiving it from moment one. You know what I mean? So it takes a long time to be the fullness of it you can be, and then even that will expand. But to have ease with it may take a while for a lot of us, because who the fuck contributes to us on this planet? Who is there not wanting something from us and just like, I see you, let's be that.
And also, well, and who is there? It's like, how many of you guys? Well, it's just the judgment. It's that sort of like, I'm gonna get you with my judgment. That so many people, no one's perfect. Like, we all have our stuff, and it's just, so it's taken me a while to trust, and I've actually recognized that you're not gonna hurt me.
Yeah. But here's the other thing that you get that actually occurs right before that is that I can't actually be hurt by something outside. See, but that's part of what
Dain cares for you deeply and then kicks your ass into being stronger than you've ever been before simultaneously.
I had somebody yesterday say, I always feel when this comes up, I always feel like you're making me wrong. And then the person next to him said, there are a lot of people that think you make them wrong. And I was like, I do get that. And it was interesting. I said, but not, and what, in exploring that, I looked at that and I said, so am I making you wrong, or am I inviting you to be what you know you are that you refuse to choose? And it was interesting because I said, does it ever occur without a direct facilitation that you feel I'm making you wrong? And they're like, oh my God, no.
Oh, right.
The space of your kindness. I'm like, I know, but am I pushing the button that you need to be pushed so you can create the future you want to
How
create?
many buttons and weird fucking traps and snafus do we
We've
all
got
have
so
that
many.
we suffer from?
True story.
Can we invite people to what's coming?
Yeah, absolutely. And I also want to say about what's coming.
Yes.
You want to invite them to what's coming, and then I'll say about what's coming.
Well, so Dain has an ESB class coming up, actually in the this upcoming weekend.
Yes.
And it's possible for all of you guys that are ready. I don't even know what the prerequisites are, to be honest.
Foundation.
Is that it?
Yep.
Everyone out there who's done foundation, Dain is doing an ESB Access Foundation. And if you haven't done Access Foundation, you don't even know what Access is, and you just found us, welcome. We'll put some links so you can check it out, if you want to find out what these, what's going on here.
Yeah.
But you're doing ESB next weekend. But I also want to say something else, that like, yes, you're doing ESB next weekend, but like, whenever it's time. Whenever it's time.
Yep.
This isn't about next weekend. It's not really even about ESB class. It's this gift. It's this, we love magic.
Yeah.
And it's magic.
Yep.
And we are, yeah. So now what else?
Well, I'm so glad you said that. Truly, whenever it's time. That's that, and that with all of Access, that with all of your life, really. And that's our point of view. What I was going to say is, we're talking about this in sessions, but the beauty of an ESB class is what I do is I be that space for the entirety of the 3 days. And when you have more, so it's not just you working through your stuff. What happens is you truly start getting a sense that it's okay to be oneness, if you will. It's okay to not have separation between you and all the parts of you, but also you and all the parts of other people. And imagine what it would be like to navigate reality, no longer having resistance to your bits and everybody else's. But so also what happens is you have people who ask questions, people who get sessions, people who do these things that are sort of this deep dive that goes in and then goes,
oh yes.
But when they do, everybody gets to go on the journey.
Oh my God. There was this kind of, we're going to finish soon, but I have to say about this. I remember listening to this one session you did in an ESB, and I don't even remember. It was maybe a year or two ago, and I was just listening to the recording of it. I wasn't even at the class. But it was this woman who brought up, I don't even remember. It was something, wow. Sorry, my stories. I'm like, I don't remember when it was. I don't even remember what the content was. Ooh, this would be better if I could remember the content. It was a very long conversation that unwound this thing it was this person who was bringing it up. She was bringing it up, but by the end of the conversation, which was like maybe an hour and 15 minutes long, the facilitation, the whole universe had changed. Every single part of that anybody had was like completely, which I get as we're talking about it might be, it might not be a point of reference that a lot of people have for what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I'll stop interrupting with my stories.
Well, no, I love your stories. And so if we shortcut it, it's like, so imagine you've got, you've got a thing that keeps occurring in relationships that you don't know how to change. You've tried to change it for years and it's still not changing.
Right.
Somebody asks a question about something that may or may not seem to be related. But in this facilitation, you notice that after that, somehow that relationship thing is no longer sticking you in the same way. It's like practically no longer there, and you're like, how did that happen? Where did that come from? But you're aware enough to recognize the change in everybody's universe that occurred, and so am I, and that's why it's so much fun, and that's why we're having this conversation, so that we can let people know this is available. Yes. And once again, how the fuck do you talk about magic like that?
Exactly. And oneness is real. It's not theoretical, and so that's how a lot of this
is not theoretical. Yeah.
When you change, when you choose, when your point of view, your being is a catalyst and a connectedness to everything and everyone in the universe. You are powerful. You do matter. Your choice to show up, your choice to step up, and your choice to make yourself wrong all have an impact. Thank you for teaching me how to be me without judgment. And I will also say I have been happier in many of your classes than I've ever been any other time in my life.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, beautiful people. See you soon. Somewhere, somewhere. Maybe even next weekend at ESP. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. See you later. Bye.